Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is dustinkreis, and there's going to be another music discussion from the living room. So if you don't like these videos, I apologize, but I have other interests and I like to talk about them. Can't talk about video games all the time. And in this one, we are going to be discussing the Beach Boys' new album, That's Why God Made the Radio. And I'll sort of give my thoughts on it and my thoughts on the Beach Boys as a whole. And, you know, the Beach Boys is one of those bands, you know, I growing up in high school and stuff, you know, the cool thing was to like the Beatles. And, you know, everyone was walking around with their Beatles shirts and, you know, talking about the Beatles. While I'm a big Beatles fan as well, I was more of a Beach Boys fan, and I kind of always have been. I don't know what it is. I think it's just sort of the overwhelming harmony of the band. And, you know, you can say that the songs were always happy and joyful and stuff like that, but I always had a sense of melancholy with the Beach Boys. And I think that's because, you know, I never experienced the band first time around, because I'm only 29, by God, and, you know, I could not remove the band from the mythos. You know, Brian going crazy in the 70s, and all the, you know, Dennis Wilson dying and all the bad stuff that happened to him. I could never remove one from the other. So for me, the Beach Boys have always had sort of a melancholic sound to them, because it almost sounds like, you know, they were singing about a time that's passed, you know. Because, you know, when I was listening to it, of course, the time had passed. You know, they were older and, you know, it wasn't fun anymore. But anyway, you know, talking about this album, and, you know, I read some interviews with the members of the band, and they talk about how it, you know, sounds like Pet Sounds. And of course they're going to say that because Pet Sounds is, you know, generally regarded as one of the best, if not the best album of all time. And of course they're going to equate it to it. Is this like Pet Sounds? No. I would say the closest that this album comes to Pet Sounds is the first track, Think About the Days, and then the last three tracks, which I'll talk about a little bit later. If I had to equate this to a Beach Boys era, it would definitely be sort of the late 60s, after Pet Sounds and after Smile imploded. Late 60s to Sunflower era. It just kind of has a, you know, a more organic feel to it, whereas Brian's albums were very heavily produced. The albums that came after Pet Sounds was where the band was basically working on their own without Brian's input that much, and it has a more of a homespun quality to it. And that's what I really kind of equate this to. Is this album good? Yes and no. There are points of it where it definitely feels like a 50th anniversary cash-in. Spring Vacation, I'm Looking at You. That's Spring Vacation's the song. It's a song where they kind of shoehorn in this message of, you know, it's kind of like Brian's Back, if you've heard that song. It's like a status update of a song where they talk about, you know, how they're back, and they shoehorn like old song titles like Get Around and Good Vibrations into it. And it's kind of cringeworthy in a way. Where the album gets really good is when they're not trying to put on the Beach Boys Sun and Fun face, and where the songs that kind of deal with the fact that they're getting older and that there's more days behind than there are ahead. And that's really what the last three songs on the album really get across. And especially, you know, Summer's Gone, which I think I read something where Brian Wilson, he wrote that song, I don't know, maybe like a few years ago or something, and he always said that he was going to put it on the final Beach Boys album, because it really is kind of a realization that this is coming to an end. You know, these guys are in their 70s, and this is probably going to be the last thing that they record, because, you know, it's crazy to think that they're still able to sing like this. You know, Al Jardine sounds amazing on this album. Brian Johnson sounds amazing on this album. Mike Love sounds like Mike Love. Um, but you know, Brian, we've heard Brian Wilson over the years with the Smile album and Lucky Old Son and the Gershwin album and the Disney album, so we kind of know what Brian still sounds like. But everyone else sounds still really good. But you can definitely feel the absence of Carl on this album, and that's one of the big things. That's kind of like, I really like the melancholy tracks on this, because you really get a sense that, you know, they realize that they're getting older and that this is going to end. And when you think about these last three tracks and you think about, you know, Carl not being there and Dennis not being there, it really kind of gives a lot of weight to the album, whereas other songs like, you know, like I said, Spring Vacation and That's Why God Made the Radio and Beaches in Mind really have kind of a light, airy quality to them that, you know, while it still sounds really good, because I don't think the Beach Boys can make a bad sounding album, at the same time you're just like, oh yeah, this sounds good, but, you know, okay, it's kind of fluffy. But the more melancholic tracks really kind of hit home. And the first song, Think About the Old Days, is just, you know, it kind of recalls Our Prayer Guy from Smile, in that it's just an instrumental with them kind of harmonizing over it. No words, just, you know, chords and what have you. And, you know, I can really see that playing, like, over a montage of, like, the Beach Boys' career. It really has a very nostalgic feel to it, and I really enjoy that. The Private Life of Bill and Sue. This is a song I kind of wanted to talk about, because it's another one of those weird Brian Wilson songs. Very reminiscent of, like, what was it, Fairview and Park? Was that the name of the song? Where it was like a 7-inch that was attached to the Holland album, because the band didn't really want it on there, but Brian's like, oh no, we gotta release it. It was during his sort of crazy period, and it's like this poem set to music, this story of this street, and, you know, one of those kind of weird, kooky Brian Wilson tunes. And The Private Life of Bill and Sue is like that, but it's about you know, celebrities and the tabloids and how we have to follow everything that they do. And at one point it's kind of hokey, but at the other point it's kind of endearing as well, because it recalls a very sort of fast and loose Brian Wilson, you know, especially like the Love You album. It kind of recalls that in a way. But, you know, like I said, if you like the Beach Boys, I would definitely say go ahead and get this. It's nowhere near, you know, the heights that they reached in the 60s. But to be honest with you, if anyone was expecting another Smile or another Pet Sounds, then you might as well just hit yourself in the head with a hammer, because it's never going to happen again. It was of the time and of the place. But that being said, it's still insanely listenable, and you know, there are moments that recall those eras, like Isn't It Time, the third song on the album, kind of has a weird Pet Sounds Smile vibe to it, I think. But definitely interesting. One of the low points of the album is, you know, Spring Vacation. It's just too cheesy, too hokey. Daybreak Over the Ocean is a Mike Love ballad that he wrote for one of his unreleased solo albums that sounds too much like Kokomo for my taste, because I fucking hate Kokomo. That was a terrible song. But, you know, it's worth the price, because I paid $10 for this at Best Buy. It's worth that for Think About the Days, the last three songs on the album, From There and Back Again, Pacific Coast Highway, which is more of a segue than a song, because it's only like 1:40 long, and then Summer's Gone, which Summer's Gone is just, it's the Caroline No of the album, but it's not as good as Caroline No, you know what I mean? Yeah, there's definitely some great moments, great harmonies on here, but it just doesn't touch, you know, after releasing the big box set of Smile, it doesn't touch that. But it's nice to hear them record One More Thing. And, you know, I think it would have been so great if they would have taken the time with this and got a Wrecking Crew-like orchestra behind them to do the songs. I think that would have been really special. You know, these are songs that they have to play live. and I understand why they want to keep them kind of simpler with sort of a more synthesizer-ish sound. But the last 3 songs on the album have more of an orchestrated feel to them. But man, if they would have done like if they really would have done like a Pet Sounds style album, that would have been crazy. But you know, it's nice, but it also kind of feels like a quick cash in. But you know, whatever. It's nice to see that they're still making an album because, you know, while we'll still get a Beach Boys album, there's absolutely no chance of us ever getting another Beatles album. And maybe that's why the Beatles are looked upon in a lot better light than the Beach Boys, because the Beach Boys sort of continued on and questionably sold out in the 70s and 80s. But sold out, what does that even mean anymore? And the Beatles just kind of stopped and let the legend grow. Is it better to burn out or fade away? But definitely, if you're into the Beach Boys at all, definitely check it out. They're going to be taking this on the road, so if you get a chance to see that, I imagine tickets are going to be astronomical. But you know, it's kind of special to see the boys together again, probably for the last time. So there you go. But anyway, definitely worth the price for the last 3 songs on the album and the first song as well. So that is going to be it for this music discussion video, and probably for music discussion videos for a while. I know this, like I said, my channel is a video game channel, and I really need to get back to that, and we will here soon. So thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. Leave me some comments. I'll see you next time.